microphone to a professor. Very dangerous thing, because we measure time in 90 minutes of a class session. But we would like to keep it as brief as possible. We were to talk about alumni and their contribution. Principal has already mentioned about the alumni Bhavan, and I'm sure all of you are enthusiastic in getting associated, because this is one of the renowned institutions going for a very long period of time. And Shimoga is, I think most of you would know, is well known for literary giants of Karnataka. So that's a very major thing. And of course, automobile and Arika are also famous there. But we thought we will take up something different, something totally different type of a topic. The topic will be about what is the nature of the global crisis, how we can say India has arrived. It's India's century, take it from me. And for the next 20 years, we have a lot of things to do. We will just very briefly see how it has arrived in this position. Here we have shown that graph in terms of the G7 in the world economy and emerging markets in the world economy. G7, I am sure almost all of you would have heard about it, consisting of US, Canada, Germany, France and Japan. And emerging markets, primarily India, China and Indonesia and what is called South Africa. So these are some of the major emerging markets. If you look at what has happened, 1990, most of you might have, some of the youngsters would have been born and everything. Some may belong to the 1990 batch also here. If you see, 50% of the global economy was controlled by G7, more than 50%. And the emerging markets had hardly something like 36%. The green line is emerging market, red line is G7. Today, G7 has got hardly 36%, 1/3. That was 2016, prior to the COVID, and now it is around 25% only. The entire G7 contribution, G7 now is headed by Italy. You might have read in the paper that the Chief of Italy has invited our Prime Minister to attend the G7 meeting in June. So that itself is giving a clue to, for many people, that he would not have been invited but for the confidence that he would continue to be in the same chair. Anyhow, today G7 has got 25%. Emerging markets has got nearly 64 to 65%. You can see that. And the decline is, you can see what we call in statistical jargon, monotonic. It's continuous. It's not sometime going up and coming down and everything. Similarly, the increase is also continuous. So today, India and China occupy a very major portion of the global share of the economy. And Angus Madison, who was one of the renowned economists, who studied the nature of the world economy from period 0 to 2000. He studied every century, and he observed that till 1800, India and China had more than 50% of the global share of the economy. More than 50% till 1800. After that, the decline started, colonialism and industrial revolution and the various other factors. Now, what he says is very important. He is no more alive, unfortunately. In his research, he told, don't call India as an emerging market. It's not a good terminology. Call it as re-emerging market. It was already in a dominant position. It declined, and now it is coming up again. So don't call it as emerging. Use the word re-emerging markets, or retrieving the position where they were. This is very, very interesting observation which he made. And he also mentioned that the decade of this first half of the century will belong to India and China. It's no more a European century or American century. It has got axis of economic power has shifted to Asia. he categorically mentioned it around 2000. So it's a very prophetic type of a thing. And current global position is something like this, using PPP is what is called purchasing power parity. That's an economic jargon. Basically to compare two countries. For instance, as an example, I am earning 50,000 rupees, suppose my salary, and my niece who is teaching in California is earning $50,000. Both are 50,000. That doesn't mean both of us are in the same situation. Some of the non-tradable service item, I can buy it at a much smaller price. In Bangalore, I can get a housemaid for doing my floor and batte and various other things. Say for something like 5,000, 6,000 rupees per month. For her, per hour, she has to spend something like $50, which comes to at 80 rupees, right? Something like 80 into 50, 4,000 per hour. So even though both of us are earning same, my ability to buy certain services are much better compared to her. But on the other side, for items, normally an average Indian spends something like 60% in food, vegetables, and various egg and other milk and other products in their day-to-day living. 50 to 60% of the income goes to those items. Whereas in her case, she has to spend hardly 12 to 15% only. So the purchasing power is different for different items and products. That's why this World Bank and IMF create what is known as an index of purchasing power and try to normalize, make all country purchasing power, and then comparison is easier. On this basis, we are now number 3rd in the world on the purchasing power parity basis. But if you look at nominal term, in the sense without adjusting for any of these criteria, we are number 5th. That is what the various type of leaders are telling. From number 5, we will move to number 3. That is what is the claim made now. US is the number 1, 26 trillion. A trillion is 1,000 billion. China is second, Japan, Germany, and India. India is expected to cross Germany in the next 2 to 3 years. So that is what is the position in the world today, our thing. So purchasing power basis, we are number 3. And without adjusting for anything, we are number 5 as of today. And this is the Tangus medicine study. And what is the position of the G7 countries? You see, their overall debt is phenomenally very high. Overall debt to their GDP. If you look at US is around 289, now it has crossed 300%. All these numbers are slightly earlier. And Britain is more than 500%. 550% of Britain's GDP is in the form of debt. Among all the countries, take my word, Britain is in very bad shape. Sooner or later, they might ask us to run their country. It's going to happen. Already their Prime Minister is from here. So they may say, come and you seem to be doing a better job. East India Company you form and then come and take over us. And debt means 3 types of debt very quickly. First debt is government debt, that's known as sovereign debt. And that's not of much worry for many because government has got this printing machine of currency. They can print any amount and then give it back to the lenders. So sovereign debt is one type of debt. Second debt is what is known as corporate debt. Companies, big companies, if you borrow 50 lakh for buying a flat, every month you will be worrying about EMI, am I right? If you borrow 50 lakh, you will be worrying how to manage the EMI. If you borrow 500 crore, who will be worrying? The bank will be worrying. The larger you borrow, the lender will worry. Let me be very clear about it as a finance person. So when you borrow very big. So corporate debt is very big. And when you fail to repay, what do you do? You go to London and settle down. That's all. In India, nothing will, there is no question of any punishment or anything. If at all there will be, so you go to, so that is a corporate debt. Third is household debt. That is the worst form of debt as far as the public is concerned. Because there is nothing, nobody is going to come forward to pay your debt. And an ordinary housewife doesn't have access to the currency printing machine, unfortunately. If she has one small machine given to every housewife, she will be very happy. After preparing coffee in the morning, she can decide how much to print and how much to spend. But that facility is not there. So household debt is the worst form of debt. And that constitutes huge portion of this, all this G7 countries. Britain, has nearly 100% of GDP, and US